In the previous session, I mentioned that a few days ago, I did a few extra sets that were not scheduled on bicep work, and that gave me a bit of soreness in the elbow area. So I was slightly concerned that that would affect the chin-up workout that was coming up. And in the beginning, when I was warming up, I did feel a bit of tightness in the elbow, especially when I was getting to the top of the concentric. Touching the chest to the bar was putting a bit of pressure inside the elbows, but as I warmed the tissue up and I took an extra couple of sets just to make sure of that, that progressively went away. And this is the next day when I'm recording the voiceover. I am not really feeling as much discomfort as in the previous day. The ramp up was again to 32 kilos, so the same as the past couple of weeks. I wanted to maintain that top set and maybe add slightly to the weight of the back of set while keeping those a bit higher. Instead of 3, going to 5. In here I'm also doing some work for the overhead press, seated overhead press that I was doing after that, but I'm putting in between just to break things up a bit. This is the top set, 32 kilos, and it did feel okay. I didn't feel nor notice that it was moving any faster than the previous time, but I went back to check the one from 2 weeks ago when I actually made the PR, and it did look quite a bit faster, or at least more comfortable in the last repetition, which was a bit shaky a couple of weeks ago. So I guess I could call this progress. And speaking of shakiness, there was quite a bit of that in the back of set. So I went up to 22 kilos and I wanted to take this up to 5 reps. The previous time I did that with 20 kilos and it did feel pretty challenging, so I wasn't really sure, but I was going to give it a go. I did 3 reps and the 4th one was already a bit slow. Then I went and rested at the bottom for a couple of seconds and re-engaged the shoulders, which was already a risky move because I was pretty fatigued at that point, but I managed to get in a 5th rep, which was a bit shaky on the leg side. The right side leg started twitching quite a bit, but I got that up, so I'm happy with this. Another set of overhead presses. I wanted to go with 14 kilos again, but the 14 kilo dumbbells seem to be very popular and I never managed to find them. So again, I went up to 12 kilos and did a few more repetitions. Maybe it's just better because I'm going to go heavier on the seated overhead pin press. So it's all right overall. Then I went into the lower body part of the session with some sled pushes followed by Nordic curls, but I was also getting in some handstand work because I'm thinking that when I'm doing some lighter work with dumbbells on overhead presses, I should probably integrate that with some static movement that also keeps my skill in check. And I don't want to lose what little gains I've made in the handstands over time. And because my wrists are feeling okay, I still don't want to put too much volume in there, and I'm basically maintaining the situation at this point. Sled pushes were feeling slow. My quads from the previous session, from the front squats that I did, were kind of cooked. I still feel that 2 days after, and the funny thing was that, as I mentioned before, I did feel a bit of soreness right as the 3rd set was kicking in. So that was very unusual. I never really felt anything like that. But as a consequence of that, the sled pushes were much, much slower. The 2nd set that I did here, it was considerably slower than the first one, but it's still some volume in there, some explosive work. And what I was actually focusing on was what's coming up next in the form of the Nordic curls. In here again, I wanted to get some volume in and get in as clean a technique as I could master, going for a bit higher repetitions, a bit of an assistance up, but the eccentric was what I focused on. So trying to go down as controlled as possible, tap with my hands on the stepper and then go back up. If I felt like there was any discomfort, I was just assisting myself with the gentle push. And getting some volume in there is a good thing. I'm still feeling like the next day that area is a bit tender, but I don't really upset it in any sort of way. So I think I'm doing okay work. Let's see, hopefully, fingers crossed. Ciao.